Good afternoon. Welcome to the May 13th Regina Planning Commission meeting. Some members of the Commission and City Admin may be attending the meeting today through video conferencing, and I would like to remind those members of the following. Please ensure that your video camera and microphone are turned off. If a member of the Commission wishes to speak, use the raised hand function on your screen to be placed onto the speaking queue. When speaking, remember to unmute your microphone and enable your video camera. Reports considered by the Commission at today's meeting will be considered by City Council at its meeting scheduled for May 21st. The deadline to register as a delegation for the City Council meeting is 12 p.m. on Tuesday, May 20th. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the Chair with the following adjustments? That we add Delegation Daniel Benner, representing Second Nature Design and Development, to item RPC 25-11 on the list of delegations, and second, the list of delegations to the meeting agenda. A motion to approve that, please. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Any opposed? Carried. Now may I have a motion for approval of the minutes from the April 1st meeting of the Commission? Thank you, Mr. Aston. Any errors and omissions? Okay. Any opposed? Carried. We have a delegation on our first item. I'd like to call upon Delegation J. Jones, Leadcore Construction, Regina, Saskatchewan. Jay, welcome. Pick a chair, any chair over there. Right in the middle. Okay, turn your microphone on. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and what city or town you reside in. You'll have 5 minutes to address the Commission, after which you'll have the opportunity to respond to any questions that members of the Commission may have for you. Go ahead.
My name is Jay Jones. I'm with Leadcore Construction, and I reside in the city of Regina. Just here today on behalf of the owner of the property that we're looking at. He's actually dealing with some family matters. I guess kind of knowing his business and Andrew for 20 years. He's been in that same location. Leadcore, not my company, the company I work for, we did another project. We built a building out there 10 years ago and did an addition about 8 years ago, an office addition. So he's been there for quite a while. And in those earlier projects, worked through some coordination with Ben Mario. The site's been urban holding, I think, for many years. And that was, I understood, just sort of a holding pattern. And the other projects were approved under that. But at this point, I think there was a plan to get it more official zoning relative to industrial use. And yeah, just submitted the application, pretty straightforward. And obviously there was no comments were raised or from the public posting. So just here to represent Andrew and follow through on that. And I guess if there's any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Any of the Commission members here may have questions for you. Let's see if there are any. Dan, I see you itching over there. No questions? Anybody else with any questions? Oh boy, look at that, Jay. Well, if there are no questions, I thank you for addressing the Commission, right, Jay, and I ask that you please return to the gallery.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now consider that item, RPC 25-10, zoning bylaw amendment for 5901 13th Avenue. I'll ask a member of administration to please introduce the report. Who will that be? Okay, Mr. Fenton. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. This item addresses an application to rezone 5901 13th Avenue from the urban holding zone to the industrial light zone with a holding overlay. If approved, the industrial light zone will allow the landowners to expand their existing business, which is considered non-conforming under the current urban holding zone. They intend to expand an existing building to accommodate a wash bay for business trucks. The surroundings include the Regina International Airport to the south, 13th Avenue and a railway line to the north, and Rambler Park to the east. Public notification was carried out in accordance with the City of Regina's public notice bylaw. Through this process, the city did not receive any feedback. This public notice process is outlined in Appendix B. Administration's review has included consideration of the public and stakeholder consultation, applicable policy and regulations, and the unique factors associated with the subject property. Administration's recommendation is for approval. Thank you, and administration can answer any questions.
Oh no, I am on schedule here. Now I need someone to move the report. May I have a mover? Thank you, Mr. Adams. Do you wish to speak on the report?
No, it looks excellent, thank you.
Wow. Mr. Sontag, go ahead, please. I'll get you on speaker right there.
Thanks very much. This question could apply, I think, to just generally other recommendations as well related to this. But what drives the change, the recommendation from Urban Holdings? Maybe in this particular case, like I mean, is it the growth of the city? Is it our intensification plan? What drives this particular recommendation?
Go ahead, Mr. Mario.
Through the chair, in this particular case, it was driven or initiated by the submission of a building permit. Upon review of the building permit, in this case, it was for a minor expansion to the existing operation. We determined that it would be appropriate to rezone the property to a zone that accommodates development so that development can be properly managed on the site. Up until that point, it was managed just through the UH zone, which is really a zone that's intended for holding land for future development. So that was the reason in this case, but it can be initiated by landowners that are preparing to serve a site for urban development in general.
Okay, I should have asked my question a little differently, but I think you answered the question. What I was really thinking is why was it designated as Urban Holdings at the very beginning? Was it with the understanding that, yeah, so I think the last part of your answer actually answered that question, so thank you.
Yeah, I could maybe just add a thing or two. So when land is annexed into the city, it's almost immediately zoned as urban holding in most cases, and that was the case in this particular case. So most of the land that hasn't been rezoned yet is by default zoned as urban holding.
Okay, that answers my question. Thanks very much.
Mr. Aston, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. So the delegation clarified it is urban holdings currently, and Mr. Sontag asked a supplemental question that was very good about that. So my next question about this is, my understanding would be typically it would be zoned to something other than urban holdings when something was built on it. Is that not normally kind of the case? Like this is a bit of a holdover from previous, it looks like, but there is construction on the site, so through the chair.
Who wants that? Mr. Mario, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair. So there have been a couple additions of buildings on the site. I think one was pre-existing, and there has been one additional. Going back through the previous zoning bylaw, we had determined that it could be accommodated. The previous expansions could be accommodated under the urban holding zone, but under the existing zoning regulations, that any future expansions really would have required a rezoning. So that's kind of what we're at here today.
Okay. Second question through the chair. Is there any difference in taxation then if it's in urban holding versus IL? Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm just pulling up that information. Through the chair. So the current assessed value of the land is just over $3 million, and after rezoning it would be $4.294 million. And the property tax itself would increase from $38,000 to $79,000 after rezoning.
Okay, final question through the chair. And this is a bit of a fine point, but this site is, it's a little bit hard for me to tell without better maps available to me, but it's underneath of the airport's NEF contours. And some of the permitted uses that are available in the IL zone would probably be maybe not as acceptable in that zone. So was this site considered maybe for like a DCD or some kind of different zone versus the IL? Because I think even after this IL's in place, am I saying that right? Yeah, IL. There might be uses that still might not be appropriate with the overlay zones. So it's kind of a weird situation where we're approving something that might on the face of it not be allowed from other zone overlays. Perhaps.
Through the chair, we did circulate to the Regina International Airport. They did not provide any comments that were of any concern. And we didn't identify any concerns with respect to land use within the light industrial zone for this property.
I lied. I'll make one more comment or question
ahead,
through
no
the chair. I think the one I was looking at was daycare. It's a permitted use in this zone, which is a bit weird for an industrial zone, but I think that's across the city, so that's not specific to this site. But that one would probably be on the border of acceptability under the noise restrictions for that zone. So I just throw that out there as a comment that might be worth double checking. So there's quite a few uses in this zone that are not necessarily pure industrial in my mind. So there's a couple that would be potentially affected. So just make a comment about that. So thanks to the chair.
Anything, Mr. Mario, on that one?
And determine if there is any concern with the zone. We may need to come back with amendments if there are any.
Yeah, it's my understanding they just don't want people sleeping there overnight.
That was the main concern.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions from the team? All right, I'll give it back to the mover. Mr. Adams, would you like to close debate?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, I will ask the clerk to start the old school manual vote.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Adams.
In favor.
Oh, well, Commissioner Adams.
Sorry, I thought you said Adams. Yeah.
Oh, no,
didn't
you're
know.
counselor now. You're in now. You're
Commissioner
official.
Adams, thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Read me back in it.
Commissioner Aston.
In favor.
Commissioner Kell. In favor. Commissioner Morgan.
In favor.
Commissioner Sontag.
In favor.
Commissioner Wilson.
In favor.
Councillor Rasovich.
In favor.
Councillor Radens.
In favor.
And Mr. Chair.
In favor.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Excellent. Okay. We have a delegation on our next item. This is RPC 25-11. I'd like to call upon delegation Daniel Benner, Second Nature Design and Development from Calgary, Alberta. Hope you got your passport stamped when you showed up here. Please introduce yourself. That was a joke. You can laugh. It's okay. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and what city or town you reside in. After that, you'll have 5 minutes to address us, after which you will have the opportunity to respond to any questions that the members of the commission may have for you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Benner. I'm here on behalf of Second Nature Design and Development. I reside in Calgary, Alberta. The property in question that we'll be speaking about today is 2322 St. John Street, right next to the Regina General Hospital. Just a bit of background from my context and kind of hopefully for your thought as we go through this file. I was born and raised in Regina, moved to Calgary to go to school, and am going through this process for this development in question, mainly because, and not to make it as from a sob story perspective, but my father has been living in this area for quite some time now, and up until 2019 was rent evicted from the heritage space or heritage community. Coming from my background in development, my desire for this site is to be able to, one, firsthand bring him back into the heritage community, and then also knowing that, and with my background in education, I see there's a big shift towards gentrification happening in the area, which is basically the act of older homes being knocked down, moved, and newer, more expensive homes being brought in, and just like my father, being rent evicted or evicted from the space due to being able to afford to live there. I want to be able to provide the opportunity for additional housing, so we are proposing to have 8 units built on this site, 4 of them being 1-bedroom units and 4 of them being 3-bedroom units, both to try and one for that smaller, those smaller units for individuals or young professionals, and then the larger 3-bedroom units for more family-oriented pieces. And a little bit of background about the land itself. It's been vacant, from my knowledge at least, since 1997. So it's been nothing's been utilized on the land itself, and I'm hoping to, again, not take away from housing that's already in existence, but provide new housing for more people to live in a core that I believe deserves the diversity that we can provide. I think that's all for me.
Excellent. Thank you for your presentation. Commission members, questions? Councillor Rashevich, please go ahead.
I drove by it today, kind of checked it out. For me, just getting the visual is, I don't know, gives me a bit of a feel, hey? I noticed right on the corner of College and St. John, there's a multi-unit development happening right there. And I guess I was just curious about parking. Just, if you can maybe give us some idea what are you thinking of? Because it's got now back alleyway, you got 2 alleyways. It's going to be bordering on, wondering, and because that's some of the stuff in our report, that some of the concerns.
Of course, yeah, happy to answer on that. And I guess alongside that, I should have mentioned there's already a development permit in place for the site, but the proposal, back to your question about parking, again, 8 units on the site. It's not a 1-to-1 in terms of parking ratio, but we are providing 5 parking stalls, one of them being accessible parking stall. Okay. So not quite the 1-to-1 from a Hope perspective, right. But it's the lot width that drives that metric for us. And so we will be providing parking, not relying entirely on street parking, because I know just in the area itself it's quite dense with the hospital, but we are providing 5 parking stalls.
Okay, so how are you going to allocate the parking, to the units?
The primary driver will be that the 3-bedroom units above, to be given those as a kind of first come first served scenario. Yeah. But that'll be kind of the main driver, knowing that families do require a little bit more mobility in that sense. But it really comes down to who's there first.
Yeah. Are they rental units?
They are.
Okay. All right. That's all for me. Thanks.
Any other questions from the team? It doesn't look like there are any. Thank you very much for your presentation, Daniel. May I ask that you return to the gallery now? Yeah. We will now consider this item, RPC 25-11, Zoning Bylaw Amendment 2322 St. John Street. I will ask a member of administration to please introduce the report. Who will that be? Mr. Fenton. You are on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jeremy Fenton. I'm a senior city planner. It's nice to meet you that I have not met before. This agenda item relates to a proposed rezoning. Specifically, the applicant is seeking to rezone 2322 St. John Street, which is located in the Heritage neighborhood, from the residential urban zone to the residential low-rise zone. This new zoning, if approved, would allow the applicant to pursue a multi-unit residential building, including potentially a building exceeding 4 units, which is the maximum number of units allowed through the current zoning, which is the RU zone. The administration has assessed this application from the perspective of policy, zoning bylaw compliance, technical considerations, and public input, offers the following summary. The rezoning supports policy objectives relating to intensification, complete neighborhoods, as well as housing supply and diversity. Excuse me. In this particular context, enhancing housing options may be considered particularly important due to the proximity of the general hospital, which is a major employment hub. Mr. Chair, some opposition to this proposal was received from landowners in the general vicinity. Notably, some residents expressed concern with traffic and on-street parking, while others commented that the community character, defined by the prevalence of original single detached homes, may be disrupted by a larger building. To address these concerns, while accommodating a smaller scale multi-unit building, the administration is recommending that a height limit of 11 meters be imposed through the application of the height overlay zone. This height restriction will also limit unit numbers, which in turn will limit additional traffic generation. So therefore, Mr. Chair, based on these considerations, we are recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fenton. I'll turn it to the team for any questions. Oh, we'll need to move it first, sorry. I think I'm drinking too much of this caffeinated beverage here. May I have someone move the recommendation? I'm looking at you, Counselor. No? Ms. Wilson? Thank you very much. Would you like to speak to it? Okay. Mr. Aston, go ahead.
Through the chair, just one quick question. So this site's been vacant for, it sounded like close to 30 years. Is there city programs to incent development on interior city sites like this? Hard for me to say. That would bring these, into the housing stock and get taxation on them? That the administration would like to tell us about.
Thank you, through the chair. Throughout the years, the city's had different incentive programs, and they change based on the need within the city. The most relevant one for this one would be the housing incentive policy. And I don't have information if the applicant is seeking that for affordable units or not, but that's certainly something that we are able to provide information on to them.
Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. And just further to that, could you remind me just off the top of your head, it's a per door kind of incentive, I believe, for affordable housing. I think it was, and it was pretty substantial too. I think it was 25,000 per door. Maynard might remember, per unit, yeah.
Ms. Pfeiffer, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I'll try to give you the best information that I have.
Sure, thank you.
The housing incentives policy typically has two different types of incentives. There are market incentives in certain areas of the city. I believe the heritage neighborhood is still included in that, but I don't have the policy right in front of me. And then you're right, there are grant incentives when it comes to affordable housing, and they're based on a per door basis. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And just one minor clarification, and again, I apologize. I raised this at the last meeting and still remain partly confused. It's just, again, with the height restrictions. And I completely respect and understand that you're recommending to apply an 11-meter overlay. But my cheat sheet, which I so greatly appreciate that you gave us at our first meeting, I thought the RL zone was a 15-meter, not a 20-meter maximum. And I just for future use, I'd really like to be clear on the height restrictions under the new land use zones. So maybe I misheard at the last meeting, but I thought RL was 15 meter max, not 20, which is referred to in a number of times in the report. That's all I had. Thank you.
Who wants to take that? Mr. Mario, please go ahead.
Through the chair, the RL zone maximum is 20 meters, and that's intended to allow for a 6-story building.
Okay, that's a good clarification just while I'm at it. I mean, the only one I had noted at 20 meters was the mixed high-rise zone, which was actually commercial, or the RH zone. Those are the two I had at 20 meters, but looks like there's a third one. The medium density RL is also 20 meters. So I've got that right now. So you can do 20 meters for medium density, even though it's considered low rise, and then residential high rise zone, and then the commercial high rise zone can all do 20 meters.
Generally, that's correct.
Correct? Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Good questions. Councillor Rashevich, did you have a question? Please go ahead.
Just kind of on the parking, just kind of wondering, 'cause, I mean, it's great that he's supplying, there's going to be some parking, and because I'm just thinking about this in other areas in my ward. For example, sometimes in some areas you have parking permits for people who live in the area so that they have preferential treatment so that they will have parking. Is that something that we would, does this area have that? Is that something we would think about for residents in the area to have, to make sure that they have parking, and that when, you know, I guess workers or people are coming in, don't fill all the parking spots, you know, for people who live there, and maybe that, you know, they'll have to find another location. But I know generally around hospitals, I think there's a 2-hour parking limit as well, right? I think there's a 2-hour parking limit, so then they have to move it every 2 hours. So maybe you could speak to some of that.
That's a great question. Who wants that? Mr. Mario?
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, just to speak to the parking requirements. So just to remind the commission that through amendments passed through last year, all of our parking requirements are now recommended. And the reason for that is to provide the exact same flexibility that is being exercised here today, to allow for developers to assess options to develop housing and to try to pair the right amount of parking to what may be appropriate to whatever type of environment they may be in, or whatever opportunities there may be to forego parking, or maybe it has something to do with the tenant makeup that they're trying to cater to. So long story short, we're leaving that with the developer to provide and make that assessment to provide parking or not. With respect to how it is managed on the street, that is a different decision that is made by our parking services. We do have the ability to add restrictions, sign streets for 2 hours or different time periods, and to assign resident parking permits. So if that's deemed necessary, that could be an outcome if it ends up being a requirement later on.
I just think, I guess, if I was living there, that it would be nice to have something in place, you know, that I know that I have a parking spot, like, you know, especially in hospitals, 24, I mean, it's 24/7, right? So, you know, maybe you come home after work and trying to park on the street, you know, that you have a pass that's, hey, you know what? Or you need to have a pass to be able to park there, so that, especially when, you know, you're increasing density, you think that certain people in those areas have, especially with that one on College, right on the corner, on College and St. John, I mean, that's quite a few units there, and I don't know what kind of parking they have for those units, but, you know, you have two multi-unit places, and you could fill that area up really quick, right? So I think that, I don't know, they got to connect the parking and in the city, you know, this aspect here of development have to kind of connect and come up with some program, I think. It just seems logical to me. I know it wasn't a total question, but I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Through the chair, yeah, I can just make a comment that we are in contact with colleagues to ensure that they're understanding of different development trends in neighborhoods, and if they're kind of seeing the outcomes of that in terms of parking, then they would have the ability to follow up as necessary.
Yeah. Because as a counselor, those are the kind of things that I constantly get phone calls and inquiries about, like constantly, you know, so anyways, I just think if we were thinking ahead a little bit, just to help the residents feel a little more comfortable, hey, we will be flexible on changes to make sure that they're being looked after. That's what
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, did you have a question? Please go ahead.
Through you, the chair, I've got two questions. My first question is just a curiosity, if you engaged with the community association and if they provided feedback at all.
Through the chair, yes. That is a standard part of the procedure, is to reach out to the community association. However, in this particular case, we did not receive a response.
Perfect. My second question is on parking. I live in the neighborhood and I used to live across the street from the hospital. So I'm aware of parking in the neighborhood. I'm curious if like the parkade came online not long ago. Is the city measuring the impact of that to parking in the neighborhood in these considerations? I've noticed a big decrease of staff parking on my street. So it's like there's more available parking these days. I'm just wondering if that's taken into consideration at all with this neighborhood, because I know parking's always been a big issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, it's a really good question. Something that we will follow up on with our parking team. Although it's something we did not assess or look at when we were reviewing the zoning application. We were looking to see whether the rezoning from RU to RL was appropriate. The addition of units on the site, whether it aligned with our goals for intensification, and for the reasons in the report, we're recommending approval. But I don't know what the impact of that parkade has had on parking within the neighborhood.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Sontag, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I could have asked this of the presenter as well, but my question is related to transportation. Quite often, this is a maybe even an unfair generalization, but quite often renters tend to actually. So this is kind of supplementary to the parking question. Tend to sometimes not have vehicles and tend to use the city transportation. What is the transportation there? Knowing the area a little bit, I think it's probably pretty good, but can somebody just confirm what the access to city transportation is there?
Who would like to answer that? Mr. Mario, please go ahead.
Through the chair, the nearest bus route is on College Avenue, and there are also bus routes on Broad Street, so it's well serviced by transit.
Okay, thanks. Second question, completely unrelated, and also could apply to any development. From what base is the height restriction measured? So this one, in this case, 11 meters. People who have concerns about the height don't really care about how tall the building is. What they care about is where the top of the building ends. So what I'm getting at is, can you build it up, like, to exaggerate, could you build up the lot 6 or 8 feet and then go 11 meters from there? Where is the 11 meters measured from?
Mr. Mario?
Through the chair, it's measured from grade, and there are restrictions on how much you can build up a grade. So the intent is really to maintain the natural existing grade. So we wouldn't accept any major changes to that. The height itself is measured to the midpoint of the top of eaves and peak of roof. So that's another distinction that we made, but generally it allows 11 meters would allow for a 3-story building. The underlying zone currently allows for 8.5 meters, but historically this area was all developed with an 11-meter height. So you can see in appendix, I think, just looking for it here, appendix D how an 11-meter height with the intended building kind of would work on that streetscape.
Yeah.
So, just so I'm clear, so it's 11 meters from the original grade, you're saying?
The existing natural grade, that's
The
correct.
existing natural
Yeah.
grade. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sontag. Councillor Radens, please go ahead. Councillor Radens has the floor, but I'll get you on the next one. Councillor Radens, sorry, my mic is on, but
Well, you know,
that's okay. You're next, you're next.
it's okay, you promoted him to counselor anyway, so it's totally fine.
And he's arguing already.
Okay, so I think.
Perfect.
I think, yeah, right, I think that, you answered my in regards to the height, in regards, to the other houses in the area there, for the 11, meters. So is that on, I think Appendix D you're referring to, does that seem, is that like accurate? I know it's a hypothetical, version, but is that in terms of the height in relation to the other homes in the area is what I'm inquiring about?
Yeah, through the chair, the applicant had prepared this, and we've reviewed it and see it as being accurate, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So in regards to the, what is facing St. John Street, and so then are all the houses, this is the front of the building, I'm guessing?
That's correct.
And so and in relation to the houses on the block, they're all facing the same direction. So then it would be side-by-side houses would be okay. I think I get the photo already, so it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm good. Oh, you're good? Okay. I don't see any other questions. I'll give you one more chance. Any others? Ms. Morgan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to get some clarification on 2 points in Appendix B. We have in the support section, potential to increase property values in the neighborhood, and in the opposition section, we have property impact. Property values will be negatively affected. So where do we stand there?
Mr. Mario?
Through the chair, this is really just a summary of the comments that we heard. So some people seeing as being a benefit, the investment in the neighborhood, but some people are concerned about how it may be perceived. So it's a bit of a subjective answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Oh, you want another question?
I would just
Fire
like you
away.
to respond with a louder voice, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the same
Thank
problem.
you.
My apologies. So Appendix B is a summary of the comments that we heard from the community. So some people thought that the proposed development may increase property values, bringing investment to the neighborhood, and others thought that it may have a detrimental impact. So it just depends on who you ask and how they might see the impact to property values. We're simply summarizing the information that we heard for Planning Commission and City Council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. I see, oh, I have a microphone for you. You are on. Go
Thank
ahead, Ms. Bryden.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just would like to add to Mr. Mario's answer. In terms of property assessment for the city, that land or that parcel is currently vacant. And so developed, that would see an increase in assessment value for that property and increased tax revenue for the city. Currently, the assessed value is just under $80,000, and the new assessed value would be about 1.5 million. Those are estimates, but you can see the difference would be significant in terms of tax revenue for the city as well.
Councillor Radens, please go ahead.
Thank you. I think she answered my question.
Okay. Well, I see no further questions, but I'd like to add a bit of something here. I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I think it's a real shame that a prime piece of property sits for 30 years undeveloped, and yet during council meetings, we get berated about how we need more houses, more types of houses, more price points. And I would think we should do everything we can to make it easy for people to live in the city. And that includes the parking piece that Councillor Rashevich brought up. Just my opinion, but let's make this easier on people. And if there's anything we can do to help, please tell us, administration, because we need to get the message out there that we are open for business and not putting up barriers. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's not for the cameras, but it's my feeling on it. Any other questions? Comments? Who moved this? Oh, okay. Ms. Wilson, would you like to close debate? Thank you very much. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Mr. Chair, I'll try not to promote anybody this time. Commissioner Wilson.
In favor.
Commissioner Adams.
In favor.
Commissioner Aston.
In favor?
Commissioner Kell.
In favor.
Commissioner Morgan.
Oh, in favor.
Sorry. Commissioner Morgan.
In favor, thank you.
Commissioner Sontag.
In favor.
And Councillor Rasevich, I'll take that
In
as
favor.
an in favor. Okay. And Mr. Chair.
In favor.
And Councillor Radens.
In favor.
The motion carries unanimously.
Excellent. We'll now consider item RPC 25-12, zoning bylaw amendment for 1001 North Winnipeg Street. I will ask a member of administration to please introduce the report. Who will that be? Okay, Mr. Fenton, and please speak up because I can't hear you very well.
Chair. This agenda item relates to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Specifically, the applicant is seeking to remove a holding overlay zone from the subject property, which is located immediately north of the co-op refinery complex. This holding overlay was applied when the subject property was rezoned to industrial heavy zone last year, with the intent that development be withheld until further environmental testing associated with a historic farmstead site be undertaken. Administration has assessed this application. Importantly, the required environmental analysis has since been completed, and it has been confirmed that there is no environmental contamination of concern. Removal of the holding overlay will allow the applicant to pursue further approvals associated with a proposed development that is still under review. This proposed development relates to a proposed rail yard facility, which they applied for last year, but is still under review. And just to clarify, the applicant is a federated cooperative, and the landowner is the city of Regina currently.
Okay.
Based on these considerations, the administration is confident that due diligence respecting the historic environmental conditions of the property have been undertaken, and therefore it is appropriate to remove the holding overlay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fenton. Okay, questions from the team? Oh, we need a mover. Here I am doing this again. I'm not trying to get out of here that early, but my apologies. Who would like to move the report? Mr. Sontag, thank you. Would you like to speak to it? Yeah. Well, generally, yes, you can, I think, but no questions. This seems like a no-brainer to us, I guess. Oh, do you have your light on? Sorry, I just saw that now. Mr. Aston, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. Just a quick question. I think I remember this one when it came up last year. Is it the case that once this is removed, that basically all subsequent applications would be just handled at the administration level, or would there be subsequent things possibly come forward to commission and council? Thank you, through the chair.
Mr. Mario.
Through the chair, this would open the door for consideration of development permits. So any permitted use that comes forward could be approved administratively. Discretionary uses, in this case, would have to come through city council due to the aquifer issue. But yeah, what's on the table right now, being a rail yard, is still intended to come forward through to city council whenever that's ready to go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Adams, please go ahead.
Yeah, I also recall this, sorry, through the chair, from last year. And if I recall correctly, actually, I believe that the Federated Co-op at the time wanted to use this land for biodiesel facility. Wasn't that correct? Because they were at the time also trying to maybe potentially even partner with the canola crushing plant. At the time, I think we actually at the commission rejected it. I think it was largely because there was quite a bit of opposition to this from the local community adjacent to it, which would be uplands. And there was also a lot of concern about the aquifer. There was a large aquifer there. So my question is just simply that essentially the city undertook an analysis of the existing soil and potentially water, although I don't see water referenced here, and found that at its present time it's non-contaminated. There's no issue with the land right now, but I didn't think that really quite reflected the tone of the discussion, which was if you put a biofuel facility on this land adjacent to upland, is that going to be okay? So can we just revisit that briefly, like big picture? I know you don't have a development application in front of you, and that's not what this is, but without that context, I'm just a little reluctant. But
Yeah, through the chair, just to make one point clear, that the sole reason for the application of the holding overlay zone was to do with environmental contamination. So once that's resolved, the decision here in front of you is to assess the reason for its application and just to confirm that the steps were taken to remove it. So that's the decision here today. But in terms of the bigger picture, the application that was in front of the commission last year was for rezoning of the site to heavy industrial. And the intent of that was to accommodate the growth of the refinery, Federated Co-ops. And they had the sort of long-term vision to develop a multi-phase industrial development, including biodiesel, canola crush, and some other heavy industrial land uses, which would fall into the discretionary use category. And what we told Planning Commission and City Council at the time was that the impacts to the community, the adjacent community, would be reflected in our review for discretionary use when those are brought forward.
Right.
At this time, we don't have any discretionary use applications for those further industrial operations. The only application that we are considering currently is the transportation terminal or the rail yard. So that is what is currently on the table, and that's the only thing that's being formally considered at this time.
no, that's a very helpful response, and I appreciate it. Thank you. It really is, as you understand, and as I continue to learn, it's just about the layering and the pacing of how development actually occurs. So this is one layer that can be removed, but it really is in that discretionary use phase where those broader considerations are assessed. So thank you.
Great question. I think it's important that we think beyond just what we're looking at today to decide on, because we know what's coming after that. So any other questions? May I ask the mover if she would like to close debate? Oh, sorry. Mr. Sontag, would you like to close debate? Thank you very much. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Okay,
Through you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sontag,
In favor.
Commissioner Adams,
In favor.
Commissioner Aston,
In favor?
Commissioner Hopkins. Oh, sorry. Commissioner Kell,
In favor.
Commissioner Morgan,
In favor.
Commissioner Wilson,
In favor.
Councillor Rashevich,
In favor.
Councillor Radens,
In favor.
and Mr. Chair.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Okay, we're in the home stretch, everybody. We'll now consider item RPC 25-13, Heritage Property Designations 2025. I'll ask a member of administration to introduce the report. Is that you, Ms. Pfeiffer? Mr. Adige, your mic is on. Please go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. This report is being brought forward to seek approval for the designation of properties as municipal heritage properties under the Heritage Property Act, which requires council approval. The applications for designation have been submitted voluntarily by the property owners. Designation supports the city's broader heritage conservation goals, which emphasize representing a variety of time periods and socioeconomic histories, from modest family homes to residences of notable individuals. The properties recommended for designation are located in the Center Square and Lakeview neighborhood and reflect Regina's development between 1910 and 1928. Each property showcases a distinct architectural style, including Edwardian and period revival, contributing to the diversity of Regina's built heritage. Conserving these properties enhances Regina's identity as a culturally rich and visually compelling city for residents and visitors alike. We'll be pleased to respond to any questions from Commission.
Guess what I'm going to do now? I'm going to ask for a mover this time. Who would like to move this report? Mr. Adams, would you like to speak to the report? Any questions from commissioners or members? Go ahead, Ms. Kell.
As the Scar Street property is a business, would designated heritage hinder the owner from applying for changes to accessibility, to meet accessibility codes?
Good question.
Designation does not hinder you from making changes.
Okay.
Yeah, and including accessibility. Designation actually supports changes that such as accessibility. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it essentially allows the owners to apply for grants to maintain the character of the home?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rashevich, please go ahead.
Besides, is it the owners of the buildings that come to the city and decide to get heritage, get heritage recognition, or is it us looking at properties saying, oh, we want to make this a heritage building?
Through the chair, it's the owners that come to the city. They apply voluntarily for designation.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It has to go through a process. We review the application, look at the statement of significance, and then make a recommendation. And some of these properties are already in the heritage inventory, so we already know some of these properties.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, please go ahead.
Yeah, maybe just for the benefit of the commissioners on council, I believe there's an inventory, right? I think it's a little over 120 some properties or so, roughly. And I did think that the city occasionally had a role in potentially not designating it, but identifying it, and it's not always on the owner, but just for what it's worth.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yes, the city has the heritage inventory where these properties have been identified of having value, and then we have evaluated all these properties, and then we send letters to owners every year, letting them know that their property has been evaluated, and you can apply for designation, and then you can also qualify for incentives. So we just try to encourage people to designate. We move to a process whereby We wanted designated one to be voluntary. We try to incentivize designated properties. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? I'll ask the mover if they would like to close debate.
Yes, I will close debate, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Adams,
In favor.
Commissioner Austin,
In favor?
Commissioner Kell,
In favor.
Commissioner Morgan,
In favor?
Commissioner Sontag,
In favor.
Commissioner Wilson,
In favor.
Councillor Rastovich,
In favor?
Councillor Radens,
Favor.
and Mr. Chair.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Before I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, I just want to say a thank you to our guests, our administration, and all of you for being here today. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Councillor Adams. We'll give it to him. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.